We're here doing a podcast today to just, hit home on a lot of what happened last night at the State of the Union. Um, President Trump was addressing, and it's something that we'll hear, a couple times a year from the President of the United States to a joint session of Congress. And so, everybody's there: Supreme Court, all the military, top brass. You have all the Democrats, all the Republicans, and you have special guests. And so I'd like to kind of get into it today a little bit about, we talk this game about um, being inclusive. We talk this game about everybody coming together. We talk about this game of everybody wanting to roll into a situation where we are actually getting along better together. Where I come from, they have these signs called Better Together. It was never about better together. It was about better if you agree with me. But let's just focus on last night. When the first lady is announced, she comes in upstairs in the balcony. And what the Democrats do? Nothing. And then when President Trump walks in through the door, now I get it. The Democrats don't like President Trump. Um, just like the Republicans didn't really like much of Joe Biden. They didn't like much of Barack Obama. The Democrats didn't like much to do with George Bush. But the decorum's always been that you at least stand up and a couple claps maybe, and there's a decorum. Decorum is a word for manners. And that was not happening last night at all. Matter of fact, it went way too far to the point of these are our elected leaders. We have certain expectations for them, and they definitely weren't met last night. As a Republican, I get upset when I feel like somebody's out of line on the Republican side being disrespectful. And I've told people the last, 5 years, for me personally, there's not much I would agree with Joe Biden's on his policies, but as the president, um, if I had the opportunity to meet him, I would have. I would have sat down and talked to him. But he's the president, and he would have gotten my respect as the president and as a fellow human being. I think more important than just the president thing is just how we're treating other human beings out there. And last night, boy, it was a tough display. I come to expect the Adam Schiffs, the Elizabeth Warrens, the AOCs, the Chuck Schumers, even, Klobuchar. I mean, man, oh man, you've got some people out there that are just on the ropes. Al Green last night was just so disrespectful. He thinks he has this right to protest, in front of the American people in the Congress like that. It was such a poor display of decision making on somebody who's been voted into office. That's why when we go to vote, man, we have to vote for people who are going to come represent us and on policy and on decorum and on manners and on respectfulness and on do you truly want to work together, or is if I just don't get my way, I'm going to take my ball and go home type of thing, which some Democrats did last night. They left, they thought it'd be cool, like a bunch of high school kids, to walk out and just protest. Wow. To me, that just such a big, huge line of disrespect. Unbelievable to me. But then when you look at Green, what he did, and by the way, Al Green to me is a great singer. This guy last night was a joke. What he was protesting, he could have done that in so many more effective ways, and showed some class. He showed zero class and a ton of disrespect. And I think more than towards President Trump, honestly, he's shown disrespect to me as an American citizen, and because people all over the world are watching that entire scene go viral everywhere. Everybody's watching that, and they're going, "Man, what is going on in the United States of America?" You got people like that doing that to your leaders. Um, but and then Speaker Johnson did his job, asked the Sergeant of Arms to have him escorted out after a warning, and he was escorted out of the entire auditorium there, and he was gone. And which should have happened. I mean, there's a decorum that has to happen in any type of public meeting. So from there, the Democrats had little signs, little tiny signs. They held up. I'll just kind of put a sign. It was a little bigger than this, and they're trying to say things like, no, not true, false. again, such a high school thing. Who would think of that? For now, we're talking about our top elected Democratic people, that they would think holding up a little sign like that, especially to a man of like Donald Trump's persuasion. He didn't let any of their very juvenile antics even make a dent. He was there to present a speech. I thought it was a great speech. I thought it was one of his best ones he's done. But let's focus for a moment on just the Trump derangement syndrome. I know people like that. I have them in my family. And besides the fact that there's only one way to look at stuff, it's their way. The Trump derangement syndrome has caused these people to just go into fits over everything they're doing. And I got to tell you, over the last 4 years, you know, watching Joe Biden be the president of the United States, he came in not well. People tried to deny that, and you're looking around the room going, huh? It didn't take much to look around the room and go, yeah, he's not well. They put him in there, and they propped him up, and they just babied him through that. President Biden very seldom, I think, was really making big time decisions, but we put up with it. And then his policies were incredibly lax. The border is a good example of somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 million people coming across that border illegally. And when we say illegal, it's illegal. You can't walk into a store, a drugstore, Walgreens, Walmart, and just walk out with stuff without paying for it. You kind of can in California. Governor Newsom will let you do that in California. Adam Schiff will let you do that in California. Kamala Harris will let you do that in California. But you're supposed to pay for it. That's kind of the deal. I give you money, you give me stuff, I leave. Just to walk in and take it and walk out. It's called stealing and looting, and you're not supposed to do that. So when you look at how our country is being ran now, President Trump was bound and determined to put together a very, very, very strong cabinet, and I think it's the strongest cabinet in the history of the United States. Elon Musk has taken a lot of flack because somebody has to be that guy to walk into a room full of people, and if you're been around a little bit, we've all been in those meetings where people get laid off, people get fired, companies go out of business overnight, and somebody has to be that person to walk in the room and tell everybody, and that's been Elon Musk. Now, richest man in the world, okay, he's doing this out of because he cares about this country to the point where if there isn't somebody like him to do it, then what's going to be the consequence? It means our country is getting weaker and weaker and weaker by the moment. So that goes back to the Democrats that have to be a little bit moderate, in that entire, chamber last night. Where are they really at? Are they under so much peer pressure from AOC and Nancy Pelosi and Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer and Adam Schiff that they can't even bring themselves to be true to their constituents and what they ran on? I believe that our country needs to be in that middle range for Democrats and Republicans to probably agree on some stuff. That means you're going to have to be a moderate Democrat, moderate Republican to probably see eye to eye on some stuff. Now, it's okay to be more conservative Republican or a more liberal Democrat, but the Democratic Party now is not the Democratic Party it was years ago. You've got the AOCs, you've got the Adam Schiffs, you've got the Nancy Pelosi's. And so when you look at what they've taken themselves down to last night, it showed a lot of their true colors. We keep saying on Stand Tall with DaveBrown.com. Go there and get questions and bring up stuff like that. It's awesome. But I'll tell you what you have to do. You have to sit there and ask yourself questions like, why are they the way they are? What is their end game here? If it's just to hate Donald Trump, they're good at that. But then what? Okay, he's going to be the president unless they try to kill him again until, for almost 4 more years. And so when you don't get your way and you kind of need to still be in the game, you don't take your ball and go home. You sit in there and you battle. When I first got to the school board in Newburgh, Oregon, I was on the board for 2 years with 5 liberal people and 1 other person who was more conservative. We lost every single vote for 2 years. Every vote. We never won a vote. We never won an argument. We never won anything for 2 years. We just spoke up, spoke for the people who voted for us, and we tried to bring our version of common sense to the room, and we never won a vote. Not one vote. Is that frustrating? Absolutely. Did I know I was, dead right sometimes? Yes. Did I listen a lot? I did. I tried to figure out, what angle, what reasoning these people would bring. Sometimes not bad, other times horrible, but you have to sit back and, you don't always get your way. And when you don't get your way, the one thing I've noticed in Newberg, Oregon, where I was at, coming out of 20 years in the public schools and 44 years of coaching high school sports, that when I got to the school board, I was like, okay, this is a whole new world. And you have people that get elected to political office. And I was stunned when I got to the school board how little they knew about schools. One was a college professor, so he understood teaching to a college kid way different than a grade school middle school kid. Um, but other than that, the depth of knowledge about education in there was super thin. Then you throw in the hatred and the wokeness and the agenda based type stuff that was going on. It was a right mix for what we went through. So Newberg, Oregon, and Yamhill County, a little bit like Loudoun County in West and just in Virginia, two counties that in school districts that just went through the roof on just crazy politics. After 2 years, we elected two more conservatives to the board, and then we had a 4-3 advantage. So what happened? I got elected board chair. When you have the votes, you win. When you don't, you lose. That's politics 101. Right now, the Republicans have a slight edge in the Senate and a little bit more of an edge in the House. Not much, pretty thin, but they have the edge. The last 4 years, not so much. So when you look at that, again, that's where the Democrats to me are really missing the boat. I have friends that are Democrats, and I think that a lot of people that I'm speaking to are very disillusioned by their agenda-based type stuff. Let's just take one example, or maybe a couple. This is a brutal one with Lincoln Riley, the college student who was murdered, brutally murdered, raped, just awful. Her mother and sister were there last night. President Trump acknowledged Lincoln Riley, and he acknowledged her mom and her sister. The pain on their faces speaks it all. I can't imagine as a parent going through what they went through. But President Trump's compassion for them, his compassion for the other people in the room. They always do this, by the way, at State of Unions. They bring people in and they have nice things to say, and these stories can be just inspirational or just tough. And the Lincoln Riley story is just a tough story. Did the Democrats even stand up for that? No. This wasn't about Donald Trump at that point. This was about the Lincoln Riley family. Could they even stand up? No. Why? Why would you not stand up for that? Because President Trump started the conversation, because President Trump's the one acknowledging them. That's where the Democrats have gone too far, and I think that's where they're going to lose more and more moderate Democrats. And I can understand why a lot of people are saying that I'm not excited about being a Republican. So I think what's going to happen, you have a lot more people go independent. And then it's going to be up to the Republicans or the Democrats to come up with the right platforms and policies to convince those people to vote for them. And so I think that's where we'll end up. The Republicans are not perfect, and never always have been. But right now, when we're looking around at what our options are, I'm glad I'm a Republican. I think Donald Trump is doing tremendous things. And the one thing that I can tell you that I have experienced with people I've met through everything I've been through is I've met a lot of people from a national standpoint that have been in the presence of Donald Trump. And the thing I've gotten back consistency is he loves his family and he loves the people around him, and he treats everybody really well. And I think when you talk to Riley Gaines or Mike Lindell or Joe Hoft, these people have been in his presence, know who he is, and are quite impressed how he treats everybody around him. And it's just kind of the opposite of the picture that the crazy Dems, try to portray him as. But as a country, I think since probably 65, 6, 7, 8, right in that range of the 60s, we're in a political upheaval like we haven't been in for a long, long time, and we don't know really how to handle it. And it was set on fire by COVID, and Black Lives Matter and the whole pride thing and the agenda-based politics and the vaccinations, schools being closed, riots happening. And so now all of a sudden we have people going out and protesting. Protesting is part of our First Amendment. You've got to let people go and do their protesting, no problem. You can also go down to like the Big Flag in Newberg, Oregon, where I'm from, and we'll do political sign rallies. We'll put up our people we're supporting, and we have a lot of American flags there. It's awesome. It's kind of a little triangle island where the roads kind of split right there. People go by. If they like you, they honk. If they don't like you, they flip you off. And that's just the way it goes. And so when it comes back to, really what's happening out there with the political scene right now, more and more people want to get out and they want their voice heard. And so that comes back to something like Stand Tall. The reason we're doing Stand Tall with Dave Brown, and we've got a team around us, we've got several people on our team now, and we're really excited where we're moving and where we're going. And I tell you what, as we move more regional and national, that's where we want to give people their voice to be heard. Last night was a crack up. I had made a post about saying the word racism. You should get $1,000 fine. We shot that at this beautiful location down here in Indian Wells, California. And I was reading some of the comments last night, and I was just cracking up because, some people are, just really ripping on me for saying that. A lot of people liked it. A lot more liked it than didn't like it because they knew what I meant. But racist, being a racist now has turned into this F word. And I was just saying, kind of tongue in cheek, that if you call somebody a racist, you should get $1,000 fine. Just in general, because what we've resorted to in the last number of years now is name calling, canceling people, attacking people, Facebook warriors. That's what we've kind of lowered ourselves to as a society. We've got to climb out and above and back to the point where you sit down with people and just go, hey, you know what? I don't really like what you stand for, but we should at least get a cup of coffee, lunch, and chat. We don't have to hate each other, but we can at least talk. Maybe you'll learn something about me. Maybe I'll learn something about you. And that's where we definitely need to move back to. I really do think that back in DC, you're going to have certain Democrats that go, you know what President Trump's doing is not that bad. It's pretty close to what we would be doing if I was president and leading this country. I don't think I'm that far off. But for some reason, the pull of the party is strong, and they're having to, stay with their party on this one. I think what I'd like to see every politician do is sit back and say, I'm an independent person. I'm going to make my own decisions, and I'm going to represent my best foot forward towards my constituents and where I live. State to state, I live in Oregon. Oregon's definitely a very blue state. Population-wise, geography-wise, we're about 88% red. We really are. California, again, another blue state. But I got a feeling both our states are moving quicker than the Democrats would like to think, because people are just tired of the BS politics. And when you start looking at something as simple last night that happened, the Democrats voted unanimously in the Senate to support boys playing girls sports. Riley Gaines was at the inaugural last night. She's been the champion. We've met her. We know her. We've gotten to be around her. And she is the champion for, girls having their own sports, women having their own sports. Riley Gaines was the girl at her college swimming when a 6'4" Leah Thompson man walks into the dressing room, strips naked, buck naked, and stands within 5 feet of her as they are getting ready for a swim meet. Now, he's a man. He's 6'4" with all of his genitals, right there. And how incredibly bad it is. Now, you might say, well, that's just a once in a lifetime, thing that just happened at the National Swimming Championships. And no, where I coached girls tennis for the last four years, not last year, the 4 years previous to that, after a 20-year boy career at Newberg High School, I had girls come up to me saying at their high school, they had boys coming into the girls' locker rooms. Okay, now let that sink in for a second. It's one thing to step back, and I think a lot of people haven't gotten this concept. Boys running against girls in track, tennis, golf, basketball, whatever. Boys, in a girl's sport. Boys in a girl's locker room when people are undressing. There is nothing okay about this, and yet it's happening. It's probably happening at your school, or has happened at your school, all the way down to the middle school level. And in Oregon, anyway, it's okay. And our lovely governor, Tina Kotek, is about the same boat as Gavin Newsom. They just double down on this. Yeah, no problem. The Oregon Department of Education in Oregon runs everything in Oregon. So if you're a superintendent, a school board member, you got nothing to say. You got no power. The Oregon Department of Education is going to make all those decisions. And if you're going to protest anybody, you ought to protest the people working there. Every single state, though, has an Oregon Department of Education. So the point here is being every Senate Democrat voted to support men and boys playing in girls' sports. Why would they do that? I mean, we're talking about protecting women. This shouldn't be, a red-blue thing. This shouldn't be a thing where we're just against the Democrats or the Republicans. We're talking about women. And so this is a big question. And I'd like people to call in and tell me what you're saying. Go to standtallwithdaveBrown.com, get on our email, and send us in your comments on why are women being attacked the way they are. You know that Judy and I, we resigned from Canby High School coaching girls tennis because boys were being allowed to play girls sports. And it was our way of saying no. If we would have went into the season, we would have said no at a match, and we would have gotten fired. And so we resigned under protest before we would have gotten fired. And it's still happening in Oregon. So why? We've been battling this out here. We're nowhere near as big, but we're right there on the same team as Roddy Gaines on this thing. We're fighting this all the way. And so what's the deal with the Democrats? Why are they punishing, going against, hurting the women out there? This is a big question we've got to answer. And I think every one of us, like I have Ron Wyden and Dennis Merkley out here in Oregon. Ron Wyden's been a senator, by the way, since 1993. Always a flaming liberal. Doesn't live here most time. I mean, a lot of the senators, in fairness, though, pretty much live in Washington, D.C. Merkley, I think, is 2008, 2009. He's been a senator far too long. So I'm going to move to my next topic, term limits. Let's get these Bernie Sanders. What's the old dude on the Republican side down there? He's going to retire this year. Gosh darn, I can't try to think of his name. But the Nancy Pelosi's, these people that are just older than dirt. I say, just like the president, you get 2 4-year terms. See you later. Goodbye. You can't run again. You're gone. Bye. Why are these people just career politicians? They need to go. We need to get new people in and out so we can stay current with the times of our country. And as counties and states shift and move around, you're going to see Oregon shift more to the red, I believe. I think California's going to move more to the red. I think you're going to see a red wave come in this next election. And that's going to be bring a balance back to both states. And so what are we going to do, to make that happen? And that's just going to be a simple thing of if people vote, and we know in Oregon that we have the mail-in ballots, and they've been a disaster. They're great if you're winning. They suck if you lose. But the mail-in ballots are, you can manipulate them far too easy. And we need to get back to in-person voting. And in rare situations where somebody can't get in, we could come up with a system that would get a ballot to somebody like that and have it highly protected. And so we don't have any funny business out there. I'm appalled that any American out there that would just cheat. I'll say it again. I'm appalled that any American out there that would just cheat over an election to get their way. That they would go out of their way to just take ballots and fill them out or just cheat. Man, the morality of our country has got to come back to center up. That doesn't sound Bible-y. That doesn't sound anything like that. Although Judy and I go to church at Athey Creek Church in Westland, Oregon, and the Bible, teaches us, that we should be respectful of other people and our local governments, and we should be involved, but not to the point where we'd ever cheat. No, not a bit. So as we close out today a little bit here last night, I'd just like to finish up on, if you're an average American citizen out there, what are you going to do right now? It's not enough just to scroll through your phone. It's not enough just to get mad and talk to your neighbor, and talk to your family. It's not enough just to get, ticked off and throw something. Now is the time for all Americans to stand up, stand tall with Dave Brown, and go do something about it. get your pen out, get a piece of paper, find the address to the Oregon Department of Education if you're in Oregon, uh, to Ron Wyden, to Merkley's office, to Nancy Pelosi's office in California, Adam Schiff in California, Bernie Sanders, all these different people, and start firing off letters. And if you're a Democrat and you're not happy with your person that's representing you out there, same thing. Start getting up, do something. Go to a city council meeting. Go to a school board meeting. Go to a county commissioners meeting. Start doing something. Just don't complain and bitch about it. It's time to stand up, stand tall, and get out there and be involved in your community and know more. Before you just pop off on Facebook, you need to know what's up. You need to know what's going on out there before you just pop off. Facebook warriors are a dime a dozen. People that actually know what's going on and have far more than a kindergarten education of really what's up is what's needed. And I think once you find out and you start doing a little bit of research on things, you're going to be going, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that there were actually boys in my high school, middle school, grade school in the locker rooms. You mean my little girl is next to a boy naked or in their underwear? I didn't know that. I didn't know there was books that were so explicit in grade school libraries that they're talking about sex. I didn't know that. That's why you go. You have to know this stuff. So as we move forward through Stand Tall, we have a lot of guests coming up for you guys. Producer Paige, producer Rob. We've got more and more shows. We're excited on the Stand Tall with Dave Brown website because we've revamped it now, and we're going to get all of our reels are going to be on there. So when you look at Instagram, X, TikTok, things like that, reels can be fun. They can just be about sports or fun things like that. They're pretty short, 5 seconds to maybe 2 minutes max, and that's why a lot of people like social media reels. And then the podcasts definitely are longer. You'll see all the past podcasts on there as well. And then we have the written material. We're excited about our written material because op-eds and short articles are kind of replacing the old newspapers of the day. My wife Judy and I still love to read, and we're excited about what producer Rob's going to put together. He used to write for the Stars and Stripes for the Army for years and years and years. He's a great writer, and we'll have a lot of guest writers. And maybe someday it'll be you. Maybe we'll take an op-ed from you, and you'll be able to contribute to that. Apple CarPlay, like I said, X, Instagram, TikTok. We're on all those different, stations like that. Spotify. Go to all those, and please click and support when you're going through there. And as we grow, we're hoping that we'll be able to include a lot more of your stories. We focus on education. We focus on politics, Jesus, sports, and people. If you think about all 5 of those things, education is we're ranked 47th in the country in Oregon. We're not very good. We got to get a lot better. And so there has to be a lot of people asking questions. Why are we 47? In politics, boy, you know where we're at. We're in a Hatfield and McCoy situation right now in our country. But, when you look at right now, like Doge, I think we're at 78% of Americans are agreeing that they want to know where the waste is. And that's what Doge does. Whether you like Elon Musk is not the point. Whether you like some of the cuts that are being made, that's not the point. We have a lot of wasteful spending that needs to be curtailed. Why would we not want to spend, $1.5 million that's getting sent to the Taliban for condoms? Why would we not want that money to go to Social Security or Medicaid or veterans or hurricane relief in the Carolinas or fire relief in California? Why wouldn't we all want that? So we need to find where the real waste is, and there'll be a point where they stop. Government needs to be important, and it has its role, but we've got to bring it back into a line where it's not so bloated and wasteful. Our Jesus stuff is fun. We are not pretending to any way to be pastors or anything like that, but I will bring you the word, and I will bring you some Bible-y type stuff. Paige and I talk about this often, and it's a strong part of our lives, and we hope to share that. If that's something that you would like to read, that's great. And then when you look at sports are just something I've done my entire life. Just about got hit with a golf ball right there. I want the sports just to be fun. Last night I'm with people at the big tennis match, and they're from Chicago. I'm a big Cincinnati Reds fan. They don't care about the Reds much. They're in the same, Cubs. Reds have been playing forever, but the Cubs hate the Cardinals. My producer Rob, is from St. Louis. He's a big Cards fan, and so it was pretty funny to hear their perspective from Chicago on sports. And then let's get to people. People is always the most fascinating of all stories. Before you hate somebody, before you cancel somebody, before you just decide to say bad things about somebody, before you call them names, maybe a racist, get to know them. Maybe just get to know them. Find out more about them. Just don't assume you know. Just don't listen to somebody else for what they got. Get to know them. And I think once you get to know most people, you're going to go, oh, all right. I don't really want to be friends or hang out with them a lot, but they're all right. And then I think what you will find, though, there'll be people out there that you're going, man, I could definitely be really good friends with that person if you just get to know them a little bit. And don't let age barriers or color barriers, don't color code, don't age code. Just get to know people. Last thing today, every person you come into contact with, don't be afraid just to say hi and have a nice day. We're at Indian Wells right now at the big P&B tennis tournament. They call it the tennis gardens down here. And I'll tell you what, Tommy Haas, the tournament director, I hope he hears this. His staff is second to none. They are phenomenal down here. Everybody makes you feel good. Of course, the weather's great. That helps. But it's a great tennis tournament. We've always felt that way down here. I'm noticing that big time this year. People are just very, very, very nice. And so we're just having the time of our lives. And last night was an interesting night. So, again, time to stand tall, stand up, get something done. Peace out.